Hello and welcome to your Early Man quiz review. The key to these quizzes, as these are somewhat new to you, is that I'm going to give you a general theme, the trees as we've been calling them, and you are going to give me specific details that back up this tree from the unit. Okay? You're supporting with details from this unit, stuff we've talked about from class. Yes, there are some outside items you could put in there, some current events and things of that nature, but we want, just for these quizzes, you're giving me details. Those are the vocabulary words, the locations we've talked about in class that will back up these trees. That is your goal. So again, I give you general, you give me specific. Let's start with the first one. Early man moved from place to place, and their sole purpose was to survive. Early man, let's talk about who they were. As far as, let's get Paleolithic in there, right? Using specific items. So if you're talking about early man, let's get Paleolithic in there. Saying, which man we're talking about. This is the specific items we're talking about. Move from place to place. What does that mean when you move from place to place? You are nomadic, right? They're moving place to place because they're nomadic. They were hunters and gatherers. This is who they were, basically. Those nomadic people are moving because they're moving where the food, right? Their sole purpose was to survive. You need that food to survive. You're on the move, nomadic, trying to get that food. Therefore, you're hunters and gatherers. And it was Paleolithic man who was doing that. So that is what we're looking for that tree. Mankind is adapted to their environment. Again, what kind of mankind? We're talking about Paleolithic. Yes, we still do that today, but we're not looking for that right now. We're looking for what we talked about in class. So Paleolithic man lived in caves. When? When did they live in caves? So we're looking at the Paleolithic era. You can put down during the Ice Age. Also, they're creating fire to survive the Ice Age. And they would also dress based on climate. So these are ways that they are adapting during the Paleolithic age to their environment, which is what we're talking about for these first three questions. The third one, mankind has progressed throughout its existence. Again, we know that, and then we continue to progress as well, but we're talking about Paleolithic age here for these first three questions. Paleolithic man has progressed throughout its existence. Well, how? They started using simple technology, sticks and stones, and eventually that'll progress throughout time. They'll improve upon it. They'll tie the stones together. The fact they're improving on the technology, again, that's a vocabulary word. You see that, eventually they'll get to metal, and you see the technology we're using today. Spoken language is also a form of progression. They started off with no spoken language, and then it was written communication, and they progressed continually until a spoken language, which eventually this will lead into the Neolithic age, which we would then see the written language. But that is not part of this answer here yet because we haven't covered that in the Paleolithic age. Okay, moving on to the Neolithic era. Major events in history have changed the way a man has lived, setting up a quick reaction of cause and effect events. I've got to see farming revolution here. Again, I give you general major events. You give me specific. What's the major event? The farming revolution. It has to be in there. It changed the way man has lived. Okay, well, how? How were they living? They were nomadic, moving from place to place. What's the change? Now they're living a settled lifestyle, living in one place, no longer nomadic. Setting off a quick reaction of cause and effect events. Because that happened, what is now happening, right? So now they're growing food instead of hunting and gathering. They have a steady food supply, which leads to more population, more workers, more food. And all this is kind of happening as villages are starting to form. So the last step there is villages, and we'll continue to add steps, but the last step would be villages, and all those things happen because of that major event, which was the farming revolution, which allowed man to settle down and no longer be nomadic. A settled lifestyle and a steady food supply allowed man to do other things. So this is leading off of the farming revolution. Bottom line is because food was supplied to everyone in the village by just a couple of people, other people could start to specialize in other areas. They can do those other things. So specialization, those are the vocabulary words we're looking for. They can improve on those things they're making as craftspeople and artisans. And as those people get really good at making things, there's going to be an abundance. And they're going to want to trade those items. And what happens when you trade? What else is exchanged besides product? that is the other things. So it all happens as people start to specialize in certain areas. And last but not least, you have the improvement in access to raw materials allow man to quickly progress while performing a task. This question will not be on this quiz. It is basically talking about the iron and metal coming in the Bronze Age. This question will not be on the quiz. Okay. Bottom line again is that you are giving me specific. I give you the general. I say early man. You say, who is that? It's Paleolithic. I say move from place to place. You tell me the vocabulary word that means. Nomadic. Surviving. How? Hunting and gathering. Knowing what a food is. Mankind again. Which mankind? Paleolithic man. Adapted to their environment. You're telling me how they adapted with the fire and the ice age and the caves, etc. Again, mankind, it's Paleolithic man for this one. Progress throughout their existence. Okay, well, how do they progress? Technology, communication, with examples. Major events, I give you general term. You give me specifically the farming revolution. How has it changed? A settled lifestyle, no longer nomadic. And the quick reaction of cause and effect events, very general. You give me what the events are. Last but not least, steady food supply doing other things. What are those other things? Specializations. And again, what does it lead to? Which is the trade, which eventually gives us ideas from other areas. So again, specific is what I'm looking for. Details, vocabulary words from this unit, from our class. Good luck.